What is going on YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just VSN podcast, and today we have a great episode because we are just like freshly off a wonderful Cavs win, tying up the series against Boston 1-1. They did exactly what they needed to do, which is at least get one in Boston. That is the hardest thing to do when you are facing a one seed, is getting one at their home court. So, series tied 1-1. We're going into Cleveland. I believe, what is it, Saturday is our game or Sunday?
Saturday.
Um, we are ready to roll. Everybody played a great part today. It was a great win. And honestly, I'm happy that we're able to do the podcast right after this game because we have
Mhm.
so much to talk about. So, Andrew, fresh off the win, how are we feeling going tying this series right now 1-1?
Dude, it feels so good, and tonight's win has definitely instilled some confidence going forward in his playoffs. And you could see the expression on Donovan Mitchell after the game, and he was so happy he couldn't stop smiling. Like this is the team that he joined because he knew this team could do stuff like this, and he this is what he's been wanting all playoffs. Is just this kind of help from
Yeah.
Mobley, from guys like Levert, from Garland. Like everyone stepped up big time. You can name everybody on that in that starting five. You can name even the bench players stepped up and played good defense. But you can step up here and you can name every single person in the starting five. You can name Levert. You can name the entire bench. Like everyone came out, everyone balled out, everyone did their thing, whether it was defensively, offensively. There was not a single bad person on the court tonight at all.
No, no, and I have to give a huge shout out to Evan Mobley, who
Yeah.
immediately started this game off, just set the tone for us. Early on the game felt like it was getting out of reach within that first like
Mhm.
6 minutes, and then everything started to slow down. JB was using his timeouts correctly for once,
Yeah.
because sometimes he tends to let things get out of hand too much before he finally calls timeout.
Yeah.
So I think the way that he handled tonight was great. That was, thank God he did that. But Mobley, dude, setting the tone down low, he was aggressive, and I really feel like with him being the lone big, I think it really gives him the confidence to just go up and go up strong every single time, especially against a Boston team that doesn't have a lot of size right now without Porzingis. That is a big loss for them that people aren't really talking about a lot. And with Mobley playing the way he did tonight, I mean, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists even. He had a plus 35 thing today. Just an amazing job today. He was one that set the tone. Mitchell was facilitating a lot in the first half. I think he had the first half in like 5 or 6 assists. So the dude was understanding the assignment, saying, you know what, I don't need to score right now. Everybody's going with the flow. Let's feed our guys. And I was just really happy to see Evan Mobley really come out and set the tone because he's caught a lot of flack. I mean, Windhorse, we've heard his quote very recently of, him just not really developing. Offensively, he's really only like a
Mhm.
defensive guy. Blah blah blah. Well, Evan showed it tonight. He's able to do it, and I just think him accepting the big man role is almost better for him right now. Like not forcing him to have to be outside more and trying to spot up for threes or even short twos. I think him just being aggressive down low is the way to go right now.
Yeah, I agree. Like this is a chance to be in the position that he's wanting to be, and that's the center position. He doesn't have to worry about, like you said, hitting those jump shots or trying to quickly cut inside and see if he can get a lob or a quick pass on the inside and a quick layup or a dunk. He can just be the guy who gets a nice mismatch in the paint and just hits a turnaround jumper, hits a turnaround floater, just attacks the glass and just dunks on people and stuff. He can finally do that now. And it's a and don't get me wrong, it's a good problem to have when you have guys like Mobley and Allen because they're two of the same people.
Right.
And the thing is, you have to start both because I know you want to put Mobley in the same spot as Allen, but I mean, having both on the court is just as good. But I mean, I give my props to
Yeah.
Mobley because everyone all week or everyone the last day or so has been talking so much trash about Mobley and he's not doing enough, he's not developed enough, he's not primed for this right now, and this and that. And it's like the kid is still young. This is his third season of NBA basketball. Now, you know the problem is people hate waiting for development,
Yeah.
and that's the problem with fans today. That's the problem with media now, is that people hate waiting for development. It's the same thing with Garland. Garland's still only 25, 26 years old. Like, he's still super young, and he just came off of a broken jaw. So, like, yes, he's gonna be scared of driving in as hard as he could into paint like he used to, and
Yeah.
stuff. But it's about getting that confidence back, and it's about JB not playing iso ball 90% of the time, so he can get into good positions and be the Garland that we saw, and the All Star Garland that we
Yeah.
saw 2 seasons ago. Even last season, he was great. But back to Mobley, like, he's just been so fantastic these playoffs. And when Allen has been out, he has stepped up. And I know everyone's always looking for offensive production, but his defense has been keeping up us in games all throughout the Magic series, and even in the 2 games we just witnessed against the Celtics. Like, people need to understand that if someone's not doing well offensively and they're doing great defensively, it's not like they had a bad game. Because again, fans in today's world, whether no matter what team you support, it's all about, well, did he drop 30? Did he drop 50? Like, it's all about points now, and nobody looks at other things.
Yeah.
Mobley also has the most blocks in the playoffs with
And
like 20
by a
by a
landslide
margin.
too. Yeah.
It's like, I think it's by like 10 right now, because I think he's got 24 after tonight, and I think the next person has like 12.
Well,
And it's
I'm pretty sure he has more blocks than some teams do
yeah,
combined in this
I
playoffs
believe
as well.
I believe
Like I
I
think
saw
he has
that
more
too.
than the Wolves.
Yeah, that's what it was. He has more blocks than the entire Minnesota Timberwolves team by like 6.
Yeah.
And it's by a decent amount too. It's not like it's by like 2 or something. Like, he had 2 tonight, and
He's been pretty
he's
much averaging about 2.
a night. And again, people don't understand, like, it's the same reason why we drafted Okoro. We didn't draft Okoro for his offense. We drafted him because we knew he's a defensive specialist. And guess what? He plays phenomenal defense game in and game out. Same with Mobley. Like, I get it. They're working right now on their offensive abilities. Okoro completely changed his game to now he can hit threes now.
Yeah.
The last 2 seasons he couldn't shoot a three to save his life, and now he changed his jump shot and he's banging threes.
Oh yeah.
Mobley's learning how to hit threes, and he's hit quite a few this year too. So these guys are working on their offensive games, but their biggest gains are their defense, and people need to stop panicking because Mobley didn't drop 25 every night and be like, oh, he sucks. He's not dropping 30 a game like what we want him to. And it's the same thing with Garland and other guys. Like, they're doing other things effectively to help this team win. The other night against Boston, yeah, we lost, and he had 6 points. But again, his defense was spectacular. He was the best defensive player on the floor. The entire Magic series, again, the best defensive player on the floor. You can't force people to score 20 points a game every fucking game. The only ones who are doing that are the same usual suspects. Your LeBron Jameses, your Luka Doncic's, your Donovan Mitchell's, your Shai Alexander's. Those guys are built to score 30 a game every single night. Same with Steph, same with Clay, all those guys. But there's guys who have their roles. Nobody in the 90s was screaming when Dennis Rodman was averaging 0 points a game, but he was averaging 22 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
And 3-4 blocks a game. That was his role. That was his thing. They said, hey, your job is crashing the fucking glass and kicking the ball out when we need it.
Yeah.
And that's what his job was, and that's what he did, and that's what made him super effective. It's the same thing with Mobley. Your job is to crash the glass and get some fucking blocks. And that's what he's been doing.
Yeah.
He's been doing the things you've been wanting him to do. His job isn't to score 25 a night. Leave that for Mitchell.
Yeah.
Let him score 25 a night. Garland, he averages 7 to 8 assists a game. That's his role, is assists. Now he could drop 20, and when he's back to his level, he can drop 20 plus.
Oh yeah, he can drop
But
30 plus.
He can drop 30 plus, but he has to get back to that level, and
Yeah.
he's got to work his way. Because again, with a broken jaw, it's going to take him a while to get back to that level. And like you said, there's probably other injuries to him as well that's halting him a little bit. I
Yeah,
mean,
there's got to be something. Yeah, there's got to be
every
something with him.
yeah, and everyone on this team has probably something. I mean, Evan Mobley's playing with a busted ankle. You have Donovan Mitchell who's been playing with a busted leg since like the fourth Magic game.
Yeah.
So there's so many elements to this, and I'm trying to get people to understand shit.
Yeah, it's been a little frustrating to hear a lot of media members talking so negatively about Mobley when, I think the best comparison, or at least the guy that you want to look at as being patient when it comes to development, is Jalen Brunson. The dude spent how many years in Dallas? Barely played, barely got to score the ball. He comes to New York and he is the guy. Like, and Mobley hasn't been asked to be the guy. That's Donovan. That's even
Yeah,
Garland. He's even been able to take a backseat to Jared Allen because Jared Allen has the ability to score 20 points a night because he's
yeah,
always just been a consistent inside scorer. And when you see Mobley play the way he did tonight, that's why I think ultimately for Mobley's development, it might be positive for us to go ahead and move on from Jared Allen, trade and try to get other guys that can help either off the bench or guys that could just help Donovan in general.
yeah.
That could very well be a thing that happens. Now, do I want to say goodbye to Jared Allen? No, because I like having the Twin Towers. Like, I like having those two big guys. It
Mm-hmm.
gives you a size, it gives you an advantage. But either way, they either need to learn to coexist or they need to feed off each other. Or one of the two has to go. And honestly, I would much rather get rid of Jared Allen. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, Mobley has done what he has been asked to. He has stepped up when he's needed to, and tonight, you really needed that out of him, and he created the spark. Her early on gave us a 30-24 lead in the first quarter in Boston. Now, obviously, it was tied up at halftime, but after that, it was all Cavs for the most part. Like Boston never could really get anything going. They struggled at the 3 point line. They could not get to the foul line very well. The Cavs were just on it, and we had a much better shooting night than I think we've had in the playoffs so far this year. Like it's been a rough, first series plus the first, game of this series. It's been rough shooting the ball for us. Besides Mitchell, so for us to finally have a game like this, man, it was so encouraging. Those guys have to feel great now because I think they already knew that they had Boston's, mo a little bit. They had their number because we beat them in the, the regular season, and we played them pretty well each time. So I think they're just not scared of Boston. I think the Knicks are a much more fearful team in the East for us. And if we can get through Boston, there's no reason why you can't get through New York, in my opinion. The only thing that sucks about playing New York is playing in New York because, and we talked about this before the podcast, Indiana is getting, I mean, as screwed as you could get when it comes
Yeah,
to the officiating. Like, I think they said that they've put in review to the league. I think it was like 90 calls in 2 games.
yeah,
I think it was 90. Like it was something ridiculous. That is pathetic. Like the fact that you're basically playing 5v8 because you got 3 refs on New York side is just it's horrible. The playoffs should not be this way. There needs to be some sort of cleaning up in that department, and we always talk about that, especially when it comes to the NFL as well. We pretty much have the same thoughts on that. It's weird. I don't understand why officiating is so off, but it just seems to be getting worse and worse and worse, and you have more and more favoritism. Tonight, fortunately, we didn't really have to deal with that, but I thought early on Boston was getting a lot of calls, and fortunately the Cavs were just able to just muscle through it. They didn't get into foul trouble, and they were able to just continue to set the tone, and they kept attacking. And you know, I said before, Mitchell did not really start the game off looking to score. He saw that guys like him and even Levert, dude, shout out to Levert, finally had his best game of the postseason by a landslide. 21 points off the bench. Couldn't hit a three, but he was attacking the basket. He was hitting his mid ranges, which I think is a big time find for him. If he can continue to create mid range shots and make them
Mhm.
consistently, he's going to get buckets all day long because Boston
Mhm.
plays a very soft defense for whatever reason. Um, and with their lack of size, they're a little sluggish. Like it's one of those things where we should be able to use our quickness and our athleticism to our advantage. And I think that's what the Cavs did tonight. They really took it to them and they said we're not scared. You guys beat us up by 30 points last game. Now it's our turn. And we damn near did it tonight. So now you got to go defend home court. And listen, Boston is going to come out swinging in game three. You got to come out ready to go. Like, I need Cavs fans to come out ready to fight. Like, literally ready to fight Boston fans. Like, we need scuffs in these stands. We need that stadium loud as hell because I'll tell you what, that stadium and that arena is one of the hardest playable places when it's packed and when it's going, it's bumping. That is one of the hardest play places in the world to play basketball games, especially the playoffs. Cavs fans are just unlike anything other, man. So, but again, Mitchell started slow, but gosh darn it, did he finish 20? I think it was 23 of his 29 points were in the second half.
Yeah, he started
Just
off the
an
game with 6.
Yeah, just an unbelievable game again by him. Obviously he didn't have to score 30 tonight, but he continued to stay aggressive. I mean, what else can you say about Mitchell, man? For real.
Yeah, I mean he did practically score 30. He had 29.
Yeah.
So, but no, I want to echo the free throw thing even because like you said to start the game, it was looking highly sketchy again. Whereas like shit, they're giving Boston a lot of soft calls again. Obviously, there's the instance where Tatum had the N1 where he wasn't even touched by Mobley, and
Yeah.
it was looking like okay, this is gonna get fucking ridiculous again. And I said it on I think it was a previous podcast too. Like when the games are evenly called, the Cavs tend to dominate because again, the first two games of or the first game of the series against the Magic, even called game, the Cavs won by like 15. Second game did the same thing, Cavs won by 15. And then you start getting to Orlando and stuff, and it's like, okay, this is getting ridiculous because now you're getting killed because you only have 10 free throws to their 35,
Oh yeah.
and they're getting to the line every single time they drive to the paint or whatever. And tonight, I mean, again, you were outdone by a decent margin. I mean, you had 16 total free throws, they had 25, so they still got a lot more than you.
But we
But and I
shot the ball a lot better tonight, both from just normal field goal percentage, but even 3 point
the three,
percentage. Absolutely killed it.
yeah. And that's the other thing I wanted to echo was again the thing that I tweeted earlier was the fact that you know the first game we tried to match them 3 for 3. They shot threes, made them, and then we would try to go down court and do the same exact thing. And this is the thing I echoed years ago when the Cavs were in the finals against the Warriors. Again, size advantage. Take them to the paint. And the Warriors are going to keep popping threes because that's the only thing they're good at. They can't drive to the basket.
Yeah.
But the Cavs could. And yeah, the Cavs did have three in the 2016, 17, 18, 2014, 15. Yeah, we had 3-point shooters too.
Yeah.
But we weren't as good as they were in 3-point shooting. So your job was to attack the basket. And they realized that in 2016 when we won the championship, like, oh shit, we should probably demolish the basket because they're undersized.
Yeah.
And
Significantly that series too.
yeah, and it's the same thing now. Boston is their biggest guy on the court starting is Al Horford, who's not even like 6'9", or yeah, I think he is
And
six
he's
nine,
old. And
and
he's
he's
old.
old. He's like mid 30s.
Yeah.
This is your chance to, they did tonight, crash the basket. I think out of their 118 points, I think 100 of them, if not like 98 to 100 of them, were in the paint.
Yeah,
And
our points in the paint tonight were 60 to 44, which is
yeah,
still impressive. We still had 13 of 28
Three. Okay.
for three
Yeah.
points. We out rebounded the hell out of the ball, which is what you need to see because
Yeah.
I think Boston ate up the fact that they were able to get so many second chance opportunities in game one, and we
Yeah.
just didn't let them have it. Everybody was rebounding. Struss rebounded. Garland rebounded. I think Garland had, I think it was like seven rebounds tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Garland
seven.
and Mitchell had
Your
7 rebounds.
guards had 14 rebounds total. Evan Mobley has 10. Struess has
At,
6.
I'm
That's
gonna say
huge.
add Strusen, that's another 7. That's 21 rebounds from your
It,
guards.
and even Levert had 6.
Yeah.
You know,
So your guards combined, all of your guards combined 28 rebounds, which is
yeah,
insane. And then obviously you tack on the 11 that Mobley had, 10, 11 that he had. So
yeah. And the only thing that I want to see Garland have more of is more assists. He only had 4 tonight.
yeah,
Donovan led the way at 8 there. But even Mobley had 5.
yeah,
Karras had 3. Tristan had 2. Tristan played 10 minutes tonight, and I'll tell you what, I thought he played well because he was rebounding and he was defending incredibly well.
yeah,
So shout out to him. And even Okoro, 12 points, 21 minutes, 1 rebound, no assists. But he just played his part. He hit, I think, 1 or 2 threes. I think Struss hit 1 or 2 threes, especially late in the game. Different guys stepped up at different times. And ultimately, your main guy was able to step up when it mattered and really just kind of put the nail in the coffin.
yeah,
And that's all you needed out of him. And I'm so glad that the Cavs didn't mess around tonight. I'm really glad that they said, okay, this is what we did wrong game one. If we fix this, we can win game two. Now did they think they were gonna win by 20 plus? No. But a win's a win, man.
yeah.
Especially in Boston.
And I mean, I was watching before we jumped on here. I was watching the after show after the Cavs game, and
Mm-hmm.
every single one of them genuinely shot the Cavs won by 20 plus. They're like, we did not think the Cavs could do this.
Yeah.
We truly did not, not especially not even against the best team in the Eastern Conference. We did not think they could go to Boston and demolish them in their home court by 24 points. Like that is insane. And again, it goes back to what we were echoing just now. It's about the Cavs' biggest things in this series is rebounds and literally just driving to the basket. And the thing is, if you can force them to drive to the basket, again, they're undersized. They're going to get cooked. And that's what they did tonight. They only started chucking up threes late in the game. They finished with 38 threes attempted, but they only made 8. And that's what you want from them. Get a big lead to where they're forced to start shooting threes, but make them come at you first, which is what you did tonight. You drove to the basket and kept getting quick points. That forces them to hurry up and drive to the basket and get themselves quick points. But the thing is, you have Evan Mobley in there. And guess what? They drove to the basket and they said, oh, we had a pump fake and pass it out because Evan Mobley's going to be there to swat the hell out of me if I try to go any further than what I just did.
Yeah.
And now they're trying to find ways to get around you in the paint, and they can't. And that forces the shot clock to go down to 3 seconds, and they're jacking up 28-foot threes because that's the only option they have. So if you could continue to defend like that, make them come at you into the paint, and make them work for the fouls. Because the rest, again, tonight, the rest weren't buying it in the second half. They were not buying into the Boston Celtics, throwing themselves around. And I think they realized that the Celtics were just tossing themselves around in game one. They said they're not getting hit. They're just throwing themselves to the floor because they're undersized and they're outmatched. So they're trying to take out Evan Mobley by driving in and trying to give him a little nudge and then throw the ball up, and they're like screaming for foul. They're like, oh my god, it's a foul.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you can't just throw yourself into him and then just chuck the ball up 20 feet into the stands. That's not going to get you a foul.
Yeah.
So I think the rest are realizing that, and the Celtics were getting frustrated with it. Like, they're not buying it now. They're not going to. So now you have to be aggressive. Now you have to fight Mobley.
Yeah.
And that's a game you do not want to play because Mobley wins that game every single time. So the Cavs did a great job of trying to get them to go to the basket and then go up by 10 points and start making them throw up threes.
Yeah.
Because, and the thing is, they weren't getting open looks on threes either. Everyone was everywhere on the court. Everywhere. They shot 20% from 3. And they shot hardly 30% on the floor, period, I believe. 40%. But My goodness, if the Cavs can just continue to get rebounds and just drive to the basket and use their size, you could win these next 3 games outright.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
and you have a big home court advantage too because you're the only team in the league who have yet to lose at home besides the Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Because the Timberwolves swept, they swept through Phoenix, and well, they
I
won their 2 road
think
games.
OKC might as well.
I think okay, if OKC did, so you're one of 3 teams in the playoffs to have yet to lose at home in the
Only team in
postseason.
the East, at least.
Only team in the East to not lose at home
Yeah.
in the postseason. So, and you got to use that to your advantage. And like you said, the Cavs do have one of the best fan bases in the league, and we showed out during the Magic series.
Mhm.
We're going to definitely fucking show out against Boston. We're definitely going to be there. And
Especially now after this, like tying up the series,
yeah,
Cavs fans are going to be so much more just
and guess what?
angry and ready to go.
That stadium's gonna be huge. That stadium's gonna be loud. Like that stadium's gonna echo, and you could hear it outside. Like that
That's
stadium's
going
gonna
to be
be
sold out. Yeah,
boom.
that's going to be sold out.
Yeah, and I tell you what, Donovan said it after the Magic series in Game Seven. The reason why they won that Game Seven and they came back from that huge deficit in the first half was because of the fans. He said the fans never gave up, so we couldn't give up.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that's what brought us through this. And he said it's gonna be a huge part against the Celtics. The fans don't give up, they're not gonna give up, and they're gonna keep fighting and hammering them. And I tell you what, we're one of the hardest teams to beat at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, again, we're not gonna go down without a fight at home. We're not gonna go down easy. It's gonna take Boston everything they've had. It's gonna take them everything they did in the first game, making a shit ton of threes. That their first game they had 18 of 46 from three. They're not gonna do that again,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't allow them to do that at home. And if you could keep them quiet like that, like you did tonight, you're gonna win by 20 every single game. And I think it was Stephen A. Smith in the after show. He said once the Celtics feel like they're out of it,
Yeah, I think
they
about.
lose. They just give up,
Mm-hmm.
and they do it every single game, no matter who in the regular season, postseason. When they feel like they're out of the game, they just give up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can make them lose that confidence quickly, you take control over them. And by golly, when you started doing that towards the end of the first half, when you went up by 10 and you went on that big run, you could see they're like, fuck, man, they're getting ready to give up. And
Oh
then
yeah.
once that third quarter hit and you started going up even bigger, they said, "Yeah, we're done. We're just gonna give up." They destroyed. They're demolishing us. We're too tired. We can't go up against them. And Stephen A. and I thought that was a great point by Stephen A. You know, the Celtics when they feel defeated, they just give up. They don't have any fight. They're not like the Cavs. The Cavs go down by 20. We saw it against the Magic. They fought back and demolished them.
Yeah.
Like you can't just give up. And even Celtics fans gave up because even with 5 minutes left, you can still come back from that
Oh yeah.
deficit.
They were out. Yeah.
The stadium was empty with 5 minutes left. Like the game's not over. You can still come back from 20. We did it within 5 minutes. You
Mm-hmm.
could too. But the thing
Yeah.
is, and this is just typical Boston behavior. When Boston goes down, they just give up.
No, yeah,
And
they're one of the I would say the most least likable fan bases for me.
yeah, they
Yeah,
talk so
they
much shit, and then when they lose, they just fucking give up, and they complain so much.
yeah they do. But I think the Cavs just really did a much better job of not letting guys like Jalen Brown or even Derek White. Derek White killed us game one. He had 10
Yeah,
points tonight. He did nothing in 30 minutes. Jalen Brown had 31 minutes, scored 19 points. Jason Tatum only had 25. He didn't really have a crazy game. I did think Tatum was going to have the better game out of Brown tonight since Brown had a good game last game. But other than that, dude, nobody else stepped up. I think Horford hit I think most of his points were literally from the first quarter because I swear to God he scored like two or three times in the first quarter, and then after that
yeah,
it was very little. But the Cavs did a really good job of killing any momentum that Boston would ever get. Like when that Pritchard kid hit that three there in the fourth quarter off of that offensive rebound, instantly we come back and we score and we instantly just put Boston's fans just back down, and it was seemed like every time Donovan had a chance to quiet the crowd, he did.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about the buzzer beater he had at the end of the third quarter. I mean, money, and then that bank shot he hit there, early in the fourth quarter. It was just like everything was going in for him at that time, and he was still attacking. He was still going to the rim, doing what he does. I feel like he has that Euro step move pretty much down to a T. Like I think even with the knee that he's dealing with right now, that's still his go-to, and he has been fiending off of his ability to just beat guys one on one and drive to the basket. And Garland, the worst part about Garland is he has the speed to just absolutely blow by guys. He did it a few times tonight and just missed. And
Mm.
I think that just goes back to what we said about him so many times. Is just slow down a little bit. Like as soon as you're there, you know what to do. And I even think Levert gets this way sometimes, where these guys get antsy. They get like they're trying to prepare to make sure that they make the easy shot. Which is like just go with it, just go with it. It's gonna go in as long as you're close enough. It should go in. So
Yeah.
just don't be antsy. Luckily, we're going to be at home. And again, I don't think Garland played a horrible game tonight. I thought he played great defensively. He didn't have a lot of turnovers. I think as a team, we only had 10 turnovers, and I would say two or three of those were in the last like 4 minutes when it was, BS time when
Yeah.
we had nobody in. So again, you pretty much even up that. We were even on blocks, steals. We were pretty much deadlocked at 4-5. But the points in the paint were just the biggest difference. That and the 3-point shooting. I mean, we shot almost 10 less threes, but we made what was it, five more threes. Shot almost 50% from three. Shot 54% from the field overall. Um, I mean, you really just can't get a better game on the road. You really can't.
No.
Especially when you jump out in that third quarter and the Cavs finally had a really, really, really good third quarter. They outscored Boston 36-24 after being tied at halftime. That's demoralizing. Then fourth quarter comes around and they still outscored them 28-16. Boston just it was one of those games where they just weren't hitting shots, but guys were also just playing defense because they were finally like they had the confidence to play scrappy and play more freely. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, man, when the team feels like this, when guys like Struess and Okoro, Mobley, Levert, all of these guys are playing a part defensively. That is when this team is scariest because we can always just create our own shots and our own offense off this defense. And when we're sharing the ball, we had 24 assists tonight. That's perfect. That is for me. That's sweet spot for us. I think anything below like 20 for us is low. Um, we had a few games against the Magic that we had like 17 and 18. It's not enough. You need more passing, and the Cavs just did a great job of just feeding off each other. Everybody played a part tonight. It's gonna take everybody. Like we already know Donovan can score 50 points in a game, and we can still lose if guys don't show up, and that's how it's been for the first series. Well, they've come more prepared for Boston, and this home game, this home stretch now is going to be the most important stretch of this series in order for us to win this series in general. We have to win both of our games at home because that is a difference between going, up 3-1 and being tied 2-2 and having this be a potentially 6 or 7 game series. And I don't want this game to go 7 or this series to go 7. If the Cavs are going to win, it's going to be in 6. It's either going to be 5 or 6, but I think 6 is the sweet spot.
Yeah. And I tell you what, man, it feels good to just grab one on the road
It
because
does, especially that way.
it immensely boosts your confidence. You couldn't get a win on the road against Orlando at all, and now you take one from the best team in the Eastern Conference. Huge confidence booster going into the next 2 games because if you can quickly go up 3-1 by the end of the road trip, by the end of the weekend, dude, I mean, that's just tells you like this team is ready. Like that Magic series was just all fluke, and these Cavs are for real. And the only thing that stood in our way in the Magic series was refs. like then you know it was just the fishing was so fucking poor in that first series against the Magic.
Yeah,
And if you can quickly go up 3-1 after after the home stand, because you play Saturday and Monday at home,
yeah,
you if you go in there on Wednesday and you just beat Boston at home, you can give me the Knicks. I
yeah,
don't care. Like I would be so confident against the Knicks now because again they're without OG and Anobi. They
yeah,
don't have Julius Randle. Now Jalen Brunson's beat up. He's day to day. He's questionable for tomorrow
yeah,
with a I think it's with a leg injury,
yeah.
and he's questionable. So if he's out for some time, the Knicks are not good. And the
Even
thing is,
so, like even if he has to play through injury, he will not be scoring 40 points a night like he pretty much
no,
has been.
no, and he's gonna take a slump here. I think we're gonna see a Jalen Brunson slump because he is now injured. He's dealing with an injury, and the thing is, the Cavs we're getting there's news of getting Dean Wade back for Saturday, which is going to be
Yeah,
huge. If you can get Dean Wade back Saturday, absolutely, because that's just more. That's just great defense right there too,
and more size. I
and
mean,
more size.
yeah,
And the thing is, against the Celtics, he plays. I don't know what it is about Dean Wade, but he always plays really well against the Celtics. Every
it's so
time we
weird.
like, he'll drop 5 against every other team in the league, but against the Celtics, he'll drop 25. And it's like,
Right,
where does this come from? Like the last time we played the Celtics, he went on like a 6-3 heat check. He scored
right.
like 6 threes in a row and won a massive heat check and just like balled the fuck out.
No, yeah, no, yeah. He literally balled out in the fourth quarter, I think, to win us the game.
Yeah,
Like I'm pretty sure he had the game winning like putback dunk.
yeah.
Is what that game was. Yeah, yeah, that's right. That was that game. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like it is weird how Dean has his best games against Boston, but yeah, you don't really need him to score, but he also gives you flexibility of like, okay, let's say you don't want to start a Coro, you can
Yeah,
start Dean Wade now at 4 if you really really want to. I mean, I don't think you should. I think a Coro being in the starting lineup right now is actually benefiting us because it gives Mobley the ability to go up against Tatum, and it gives Okoro the ability to go up against Jalen. I think those are the two matchups that are really helping us out in limiting their guys to really go off. Because then Donovan can go on Derek White, and then you can have, you know, whoever is left to face off against, Al Horford and what's their other guy that starts? I don't even know who their other fifth guy is, but point is that it seems to be like the best matchups. Obviously guys are going to switch out. Mobley is going to still, go up against, Horford and stuff because he's their big, but just having the ability and flexibility of a Coro, especially on defense, is just huge. And Struz can kind of defend anybody else as well.
mm-hmm.
It just gives us an advantage, I think. Like even though we don't have as much size, I still think we're not that far off because Boston isn't a big team. So
Yeah.
I think that's
Also,
helped us.
the stats for Dean Wade against Boston this season: 3 games played, 20 minutes, 50% field goal percentage, 45% 3 point field goal percentage, 83% free throws, averaging almost 15 points a game against Boston all season.
And I mean, with how this series and just how the playoffs have gone for us,
That's a good
15
15 points to
points
have.
off the bench is big because we haven't had much bench scoring.
Yeah, and if you can get Levert to just give you another 15, that's 30 points off the bench. That's huge.
Yeah,
And
it's
I,
huge, huge.
and I don't mind Dean Wade starting because he also gives you, like you said, the size because Dean Wade is 6'9", 6'10". Okoro's only 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah,
So he adds to, Allen and Mobley, just the sheer size. Because, again, that's the same height as I think it's Al Horford. I think Al Horford is just the same height as Dean
yeah,
Wade. Yeah, he's
yeah.
6'9".
Al has always been a smaller like big man.
Yeah.
Like he's like the big baby Davis type of vibe, but not
And
quite as scrappy.
and the thing is, their centers, they don't play them. They don't play Cornet. They play him like 6 minutes a game, 7 minutes a game. And he's their true big. Like he's the only guy who's like 6'11". He's like Jared Allen size. He's like 6'11", 6 or 7 even.
Yeah,
But the issue is they don't play him a lot. They play. with no size, and that's great, especially when you have three now big men on the court, and Wade, Allen, and Mobley, and Dean Wade could shoot the three. That's dangerous, man, because that gives you a lot of because the Dean Wade gives you better than Okoro's offense.
Yeah.
Because Dean Wade has better offense. And like I said, against the Celtics, 15 points, 48 or 45% from three, 50% field goal percentage. That's an easy. Now he's obviously gonna come off the bench. I think for at least this series, if you do make it to the next series against New York or Indiana, if Indiana doesn't get fucked, um, I do think that he would start the next series, or he would start later in the series in this series.
Yeah.
But I think since he's just coming back, you still play Okoro and start him, just so you can give Dean Wade at least, I would say no more than 15 minutes, just so you don't
Yeah.
overwork him. I
Yeah,
don't
because
want you
I
to
think he's
overwork him.
coming off a knee, right? It
Yeah,
was a knee for him.
it was a knee
So
injury. So you don't want to
yeah.
overwork the guy. You don't want to overwork that knee. You don't want him to get re-injured. So
No, no, and there is also the possibility. I do think Jared Allen is going to come back for this home series. I don't know if it'll be in Game 3. I think Game 4 is a guarantee. I think the only thing that's really going on right now is he can't even really sleep very well from what you were saying.
yeah,
From the and like don't get me wrong, dude, ribs suck. Like it definitely affects your breathing. It affects the way you play. But this is the playoffs, man. Like Mobley is dealing with a pretty bad ankle sprain,
sprained
I
ankle. Yeah.
guess. Donovan is obviously beat up. I think Garland has something lingering that is trying to affect his shot, whether it's his hand, his arm, whatever. I don't know what's
Mm-hmm.
going on with him, but something is wrong with him, I think, that's just not being, talked about. But guys are beat up anyway, and they're playing well. Jared Allen, this is the series to have him for because we could use the size. Because if you thought we out rebounded the hell out of Boston tonight with a healthy Jared Allen, we're doubling that. We are getting another 15 rebounds out of Jared Allen every night because that's what he does. I mean, the dude averages probably 12 or 13 a night. So on Boston, you can get 14 plus. And Mobley has been getting a double double every game since Jared Allen has been gone. So he still has the ability to out rebound. It's gonna help us, and it may slow us down on defense, but it gives the other guys the ability to be able to stretch, and then you can let Allen stay down low with Horford, and let Mobley be out, on the perimeter to help on defense with guys like Tatum. Even when Horford tries to bump out, Jalen, it can help just bring more flexibility defensively for us. But again, Dean Wade also does that, and I think bringing him off the bench is going to be what's going to happen anyway. I don't think he's
Mm-hmm.
going to start, but it just gives us more defense, and that's fine with me. Like I don't think we need too much scoring. If Dean Wade could put up like 8 or 10 points in his first game, that'll be more than what he needs to do, honestly, in
Yeah.
my opinion. So
No,
it'll be
that's the
nice to
thing.
have him.
Yeah, it would be great to have him. And like you said, we don't need him to do too much to start because again, knee injuries are hard to come from, so or come back from. So we just need him to just settle down nice and easy into the series, into the game on Saturday. If he does come back, that's if he does come back Saturday. Because if not, then from obviously from Chris Fedor and all them who work around the Cavs, if not game 3, it's pretty much guaranteed game 4
Yeah.
that he's back and maybe even Jared Allen. So um again, you just ease him into the game, let him get like I said at least 15 minutes. If you can get him some open looks, let him have some open looks, let him take some jumpers. Let him get a feel for the basket. Even if he misses those jumpers, I could care less, to be honest, because
Yeah.
I'd rather him get some shots up so he can get back to being comfortable with the ball in his hands and shooting and being in game again. And just let him do his defensive work. Again, he might be a little slow coming back, so we can't expect him to be dunking on people off the rip and, doing things crazy off the rip. But he gives you the size, and that's what you need him for right now, is just the sheer size. So I think having Dean Wade will be very, very crucial going into the series for the rest of the series. And again, if you can go big in this home series and go up 3-1 back into Boston, I think you make
That's
Boston
that's
fans
mega.
you're gonna make them super nervous. Like we cannot be down against a team who struggled against the fucking Magic, and now they're killing us. They're 3-1 in the series, and they have a chance to just win it tonight and just knock us away and wait for or New York and Indiana, depending on how this series goes. Which I hope Indiana ties the series at 2. Go so we'll see. I just pray to God that Indiana doesn't get fucked by refs all series long.
Yeah,
I think they're pushing for New York to make it through to the next round. Whether it's
so too.
because the thing is, I think they don't care if it's going to be Boston or Cleveland because there's always a good story with either team. Like, oh, Boston versus New York, the two shittiest fan bases in all sports, or
Yeah,
you have the rematch of the Cavs and the Knicks, which everyone would love. So
especially as an East Finals, like
yeah,
that would make that series so much more brutal.
yeah,
But yeah, I would kill for that series. But yeah, the Cavs just have to defend home court now, which is again, it's not like it's going to be easy.
no,
Boston
it's not
isn't
going to
going
be
to roll
easy.
over, but if you go up 3-1, uh, these guys on this Boston team, as you said before, they're soft. I think Tatum and Brown are softer than Sharman. They are soft. When these guys start losing and they start hearing and yapping, they just lose their their self. They lose their mental. And this Cavs team just hasn't. They've had every chance really to lose their mental. They've had the games where they've gotten blown out. They got blown out by the Magic twice,
Yeah,
and we still won that series because let's face it, we shouldn't have gone 7 games with Orlando, but we did
no.
because Orlando's a solid young team that's going to get better. Um,
The thing is, they're very young, but they're very physical, and they play with a lot of passion.
yeah, and Palo was just going off. I mean,
And
that whole
yeah,
series, that dude was averaging
Paolo
like
Banchero
30.
is a stud.
He's going to be good for a long time. But
Yeah,
honestly, I think the Cavs wouldn't have had that much of an issue with Orlando had we had any other head coach. Just my opinion. I still don't like JV. I thought he coached a much better game tonight, and I will
yeah,
give him his props when he does coach well. But when we get blown out, a lot of the times it's because he lets things get out of hand. He doesn't use his timeouts well, which I thought he did well tonight. It's one of those things where it's almost like the guys not even necessarily believe in him; they just believe in each other because they know how talented this group is as a player base. Donovan knows how talented this group is, and that's why I don't think
yeah.
he is just gonna want to dip out. Like all these media, guys that keep, tweeting stories about how Donovan wants to force himself out if we don't win a championship. Dude, that's just even if we don't
BS.
win this year, he knows if we're coached by anybody else, this team's better.
Yeah,
And the only team that he would probably do somewhat better on is maybe like a New York or if he goes to the Lakers. But even then, I don't think he wins because the West is stacked. Like the
yeah.
West is stacked even more than it has been the last few years. You
If he
still
goes,
have Denver.
yeah. If he
You know, you,
goes anywhere, he has to go through. He has to go to New York. If he stays, he would have to stay in the East because if he goes out west, he's gonna get cooked.
yeah, because I mean, you go out if you go out west, you're gonna have to play the Wolves. You're gonna have to play OKC. You're gonna have to play Denver. You're gonna have to play Dallas. You're gonna still have to play the Clippers, and all of those other teams are still good. I think Golden State will finally start to slowly diminish
I
because
think Golden State's tapering off. I think they're done.
I think Clay's gonna leave. I think that's going to be one of the bigger moves that happens in this offseason
Maybe
is
even
Clay gets
Draymond too.
traded or something. Who knows?
I think they're tired
But
of Draymond too because Draymond's just been a problem. Like all season long, it's just him getting ejected game after game, him throwing tantrums,
yeah,
him doing going to beating up his own teammates off the court, like in
which
practice and
is
shit.
which is unfortunate because he has been a big reason why that team did so well because his
Yeah,
communication uh
and his defense.
through the team is just incredible. Yeah, like his defensive communication stuff is just through the roof. His IQ is really well. He's just got a temper, and that's what's killed him.
So
Um,
I think they dump him because I think they're tired of just dealing with his ass, and they're just
yeah,
gonna dump him. And they're like you said, they're gonna probably get Clay's probably gonna walk, and Steph's 30, what, 33 now or something. So
Yeah.
he's
I
probably got a
mean,
couple of years left in him
yeah.
anyways, and he's probably gonna be done.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Steph will ever leave Golden State. I think he just
No, he
retires
stays.
there. I mean, there's
He's
no
gonna
reason
retire
why.
there.
Yeah.
And the thing is
So,
too, I think there's been rumors. I don't know if it's happened or not yet, but there have been rumors about LeBron exiting out of his contract with the Lakers.
yeah, that's what I've heard too. I
And
don't
I
know
think,
if that's actually happened yet, but I think that's just rumor right now.
well, it was reported by big people. I think a lot of it was reported by Shams and Rappaport, I
Yeah.
believe,
Yeah.
that there's a high chance that LeBron just opts out of his Lakers contract and just goes somewhere else. And the thing is, if you're the Cavs, you look into that and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
imagine the starting five of Garland, Mitchell, LeBron, Mobley, and Allen. That's a championship team right there.
Yeah.
And if
But
you could get that bench a little bit better,
yeah. But that's why I think, like, even if you try that, I still don't think LeBron is going to take a hometown discount. He's still going to want some stupid contract, even
I
even
think
at 40. He's
I
still
do
going to want a
I do
contract.
think this. I think here's what happens, and I talked to I think it was my dad about this. We talked about Dan Gilbert because Dan Gilbert wants to own Detroit because obviously he's from Detroit. His
Yeah.
business is Rocket Mortgage is based in Detroit. His company that he owns.
Yeah.
I think he wants the Pistons, and I think he wants all the Detroit franchises too. Because I think he also owns. I want to say he owns the Lions or the Tigers. He owns one of them,
Mm.
or it's either that or the Red Wings. But he owns one of. He owns another sport. He owns another sports team. I think in Detroit. And I think it's the Red Wings or something.
Okay.
But he wants Detroit. Detroit's basically his city. He owns Detroit in reality. So let's be real. So I think if you're Dan Gilbert and you really look into it, I here's what I would do. If you want LeBron back, you give him a decent offer. And then I also think you give him the Cleveland Cavaliers for when he retires. I think you say, "Hey, like listen, my health hasn't been great.
Yeah.
I want to go home to Detroit. If you want LeBron, when you retire within the next year or two, the Cavs are yours. This is your team now. You own the Cavs. You'll do what Michael Jordan did with Charlotte. This is now your team." So he could take a discount for just that reason alone. Like, hey, look, the team is yours, man. You could be the owner of the Cavs. You can retire here. You can be a Cavalier for life. I'm going home to Detroit. I'm done. I've did my due diligence for the last what is it 2 decades now. He's on the
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
He said I've done my due diligence. You have one more hurrah in Cleveland. You could probably win one more championship in Cleveland. Go off in style, and you can own the team. So there could be some ownership deal in that contract where Dan Gilbert gives him a huge percentage of the Cleveland Cavaliers as a part of the deal. So you give him like a decent like kind of like a hometown discount, but then you just add the vast majority of the ownership to the team. That's the rest of his contract. And you say, look, the team is yours, my friend. Take over, do great things with the Cavs. Win one more title before you retire, or two more if you play for another 2 years. You'll tie Jordan for titles. You could retire and go down as one of the greatest of all time. Or if you want to play for an option, you can add 2 years in an option. That third year, if you want to play with Bronny, you can go win one more title. You can win three in a row with the Cavs and go out on top.
Oh yeah.
And
I mean,
and and the team is yours.
I mean, I personally think when LeBron came back last time, I think that was conversed. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's like I really don't have any evidence that actually happened. I have one dude that was a part of the dog land there for a little bit that was saying some pretty legit shit of like, hey, like I really think that this was talked about, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was revisited because you know if you recall Dan Gilbert's whole like letter to Cleveland after he left
Mhm.
that really bothered LeBron for a while.
Yeah.
And I think there was a tough conversation to be had between the two in order for him to even come back. And we all know Dan Gilbert is not in the best of health. After that stroke he had a few years ago, he's dealing with a lot.
Hmm.
He just lost his son, or at
Yeah.
least one. One of his sons. Uh, there's just a lot of stuff going on for him. I would not be surprised if he just decides to go back home to Detroit, or to that area in general. I was trying to look up to see if he owns any more sports teams. The only other team that I saw that he owns is the Monsters, which just makes sense because
Okay. Yeah.
they still play
Because he
in
owns Rocket
Cleveland.
Mortgage and he owns the field house and stuff, so he's gonna own the
But he
monsters
does, but he does own a shit ton of different businesses.
in Detroit. Yeah.
In that area, I think he also I want to say he might own the Jack Casino as well.
Okay.
Um, and then he owns or he has partial ownership, or no ownership, but it was a investment in the uh gaming team 100 Thieves from Nate Shot.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember
It's
that.
just super cool. And that was around the time that we won the championship. I think it was like 2016 or 17 is when that happened. But so yeah, I mean that would be an interesting way to pursue him and say, hey, listen, we know you're at the tail end of your career. We know that you don't have probably more than after next year. I mean, I don't think LeBron really has to prove anything
Yeah.
anymore, and I think that's why he's contemplating getting out of LA, just because it's like, what else do I have to prove there? Like,
Well,
I
the
won a
thing,
championship there.
and the reason being I said this too is because one, I remember him saying he always wanted to retire as a Cavalier. So
Yeah,
I do think the Cavs are the high priority team to get LeBron because again, this is his hometown. He wants to retire here. Number two, if he can win one more championship in Cleveland, I do think that gives him an extra incentive to go for one more because again, that means his son will be in the NBA at that time too.
yeah,
And then he could kind of just like hand a torch to his son and be like, "Listen, it's your turn to carry my legacy."
right,
And then you can hand it down to the other one.
yeah,
But I do think that if he does win one more title in Cleveland, if he does come back to Cleveland and wins, I do think he'll stay for one more and try and tie Jordan for championships and just say, listen, we're tied now. Now you can have the go debate, whatever. We're tied,
right,
and then I think he just rides off into the sunset and just does whatever. But the other thing too is during the Magic series, I think it was after Game 3 or 4. Mav Carter was in attendance and he sat there and had a long conversation. I think it
yep,
was with Kobe Altman or it was with Dan Gilbert.
yeah,
I think it was
yep.
with
I saw that
Dan.
too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw that as well.
they were on the floor
Yeah,
after
well,
the
no,
game.
it was Rich Paul is who
Rich
that
Paul.
was.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
why I said Mav Carter. Rich Paul.
yeah,
But they were sitting floor side like
yeah,
after the game, and he was talking to Dan Gilbert. So I think something was being had in that conversation, and it could have been the deal I was just mentioning. Like, hey, listen, remember years ago when LeBron came? Remember like 10 years ago when LeBron came back, and you guys settled your little beef or whatever, and you
yeah,
said there might be a chance of ownership in the future and stuff like that. Like he's seriously considering that right now. Like
yeah.
he would come back to be a Cav for the rest of his career if you give him some kind of ownership of the team,
Right.
or if you give him majority ownership, and then
Or
when he
hell,
retires,
let
he
him
takes
be,
over.
or hell, let him be a GM, or
Yeah.
something,
Well, I think
because
it was something like it's got to be something like a GM or an ownership role.